Hi everyone. So today is the 29th of January 2024. Actually, it's a Monday, but it's a day off, Auckland Anniversary Day. As you know, I'm reporting from Auckland, New Zealand. So yeah, it's our anniversary day today, so it's nice to have a day off. Today's topic for the talk video might seem like a cliche one, one that's sort of been raised again, and again here and there throughout time. But I do think it's one we really need to pretty much resolve, put to bed once and for all. And that's whether or not we should switch to a 4-day working week. I would say yes, definitely we should. We really should. There are just so many advantages of it. Like first of all, if we switch to a 4-day working week, we would immediately reduce emissions because people would only have to commute to and from work 4 times a week as opposed to five. So that's not to say that emissions would immediately go down by 20%, or a certain percentage. I mean, obviously on the day off, people would still there'll still be people going out and therefore emitting carbon through their travel. But I would really think that it would be less than if we had that extra or that working day as we do now. I do think it would be less because, of course, some people would stay at home. Some people would go out without having to use transport or internal combustion. So I would think overall that it would be down. So if we switch to a 4-day working week from the current five one, yes, it would definitely reduce our emissions overall. I would think so. And then secondly, it's just our overall well-being. I mean, it's amazing how in this day and age, even with all the technology we have, still there's so much work to do. You think about housework, for example. All the appliances we have now and how they've improved over the ages, but still there's a lot of housework to do, isn't it? Especially if you live in a townhouse or a house and you've got a garden and outdoor work as well, such as, cleaning gutters and the roof and the driveway and what have you. So, we have a lot of housework on our hands for those who have kids. Kids are always, kids or children are always a handful. It's great to have some extra time for them. And then just for ourselves, trying to keep up with our own health, trying to keep up with the right diet, make sure we do enough exercise, things like that. Even just sometimes have a bit of a me time, just be able to relax. Basically, having one day off of work a week, one day more off of work a week, having a 4-day working week would certainly help with all those things, at least theoretically. And then there's also the fact that, have you ever noticed that work always seems to fill up the amount of time you give it, no matter how much work there is, no matter how much time you give it. It will always just seem to fill up that amount of time. Chances are you'll get as much done in 4 working days than you would have in 5 working days if you were only given 4 working days to do it. And I remember reading about studies that have actually shown that people are not only as productive in a 4-day working week, they're actually more productive in a 4-day working week. Another reason is that we've had the 5-day working week for quite a while now. I think it's close to a century, even over a century, especially here in the Western world. And it's probably about time that we made a change again. So I would say definitely we should go for a 4-day working week. One other example, which is a personal of mine, which I'll never forget, is I remember I once worked at a real estate firm, residential real estate firm, all basically specializing in selling residential investment property. And this was in New Zealand. This was down in Wellington, where I grew up, the country's capital. And this was, I was going to say a few years ago. No, it's actually more than that. This was middle of 2017. So what is that? That's about 6.5 years ago. It's interesting how we always seem to say a few years ago for something when it can actually be literally, 5 to 10 years ago. We just always seem to say a few years ago because that's what it seems like to us. Or sometimes we just can't be bothered calculating exactly how many years ago it is, but usually it seems like that to us, isn't it? Yeah, time certainly goes fast. So yeah, I worked in this residential real estate firm selling residential investment property back in mid 2017, and I remember because it was a part time job. I did work 5 days a week, but I worked the hours of 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. as opposed to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I just remember, still getting so much done in that time. I remember even talking to a coworker and thinking, geez, I get so much done from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. In addition, because I'm only working those hours, I don't take a lunch break. I just simply have lunch afterwards, after 2 p.m. So you need kind of save that time, if you know what I mean. If you would work 9 to 5, you would take a lunch break somewhere in between, wouldn't you? So, and then they even talk about how your attention is better in the morning than it is in the afternoon. So if you really look at it that way, working 9 to 2, as I experienced, seemed to be pretty much as good as working 9 to 5. It really did. And I remember that experience has certainly stuck with me. And I remember speaking to a coworker, and she said, "Yeah, you really don't lose a lot of time if you think about it, isn't it?" So just another reason based on my personal experience, and maybe that's another idea too, if not a 4 day working week, possibly fewer hours by taking away hours in the afternoon, but still having them in the morning when our attention is better. That could be another possibility. So, yeah, that's so. Yeah, for all those reasons as mentioned, I would say yes, definitely we should go for a 4 day working week. I would say it's about time. We haven't made a change like that for a very long time. I really think it would reduce carbon emissions overall. It's better for our overall health, our well-being, making sure we get everything done that we're supposed to outside of work, such as housework and taking care of the kids. And as studies have shown, we're actually as productive in a 4 day working week, if not more, than in a 5 day one. It's amazing how work always seems to fill up the amount of time you give it. So for those reasons, definitely, I would say yes, 100%. We should switch to a 4 day working week. It's about time. Thank you.